Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today it is an early January day here in the Midwest and I am at Green Circle Growers. I'm so excited. I got a tour coming up. It is cold outside. It is, I'd just say it's freezing. That's enough. That's all that we need to be, but I'm excited to be here. I'm really just pleased that this is so close to my house. So it took me 59 minutes to drive here this morning from my house. You can hear the traffic maybe going by. I'm on the main road. I'm on the entrance to the Green Circle Growers. But you can see this place from about 1.5 miles away because of all of the greenhouses. I'm not sure what they're going to allow me to record, or if I'm going to be able to record today, or how much, but I'm just going to share with you some of the different parts, hopefully, of their operation. They have, I think maybe like 150 acres under glass, and I think there's a little less than 35 acres in orchids. So I'm going to see, hopefully, just the orchids. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to have time to look at anything else, but let's see how it goes. Really excited to be in here because, because this is the largest Phalaenopsis orchid producer in the United States, and it's freezing out here, and they're less than an hour from my house. So this is just amazing. So what I'm going to do is show you, hopefully, some of their operation, what they allow me to film, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be interesting. And like I said, I'm so excited to be here. Okay, so let's hopefully take a look and see what they have. Okay, and here we go. So first of all, I want to thank Green Circle Growers, and specifically Susan, Alejandro, and Marcel for spending most of the day with me, showing me the facility. Just so you know what we're going to be showing you today, I'm going to start out in the flask room. We're going to then go to deflasking, and then the different types of potting up stages that they do. I'm going to show you automation, and that'll become clear over and over again. I'm going to look at the greenhouses, the greenhouse steps. Then we're going to do transplanting, repotting at the different stages, the shoring and boxing, and again, pay attention to the automation. This is a slowed clip. Some of the clips are slowed, some of them are normal speed, but these are some of the flasked orchids that they had, and my finger is pointing to the ventilation that's in the top of these flasks. Green Circle Growers they do all of their flasking elsewhere, so these are done by outside companies. They're then brought in. And this is a holding area that's for these flasks. And so in this area, these flasks are going to be deflasked within a few weeks. And it's very quick. These orchids in here look just beautiful, but all of these orchids in here are going to be deflasked within a couple of weeks. And it gives you an idea, even at the very early point here, really the magnitude of the process and what they're doing. All right, so this is a deflasking area, and these workers in this area are essentially shaking the medium off of the orchids. This is slowed down a little bit. They were moving really fast in here, so I had to slow it down. So you can see the medium that's there, and they just shake the charcoal containing medium off the roots. They're then sorting based on size. So all of these orchids are just manually sorted, put in these different size boxes, and those boxes then are separated for subsequent potting up. Again, this gives you an idea of the scale of things, the number of orchids that they're dealing with, and they're different orchid types, all Phals, but then they are sorted based on size. The root systems, the leaves, everything on these orchids really does look incredible. On to the potting up stage. So this first person in this line is placing these orchids within these jiffy pots. And so these are their slits that are made in the pot, and the orchids are just shoved in, and then they're placed on the first stage of the conveyor belt here that takes them down to this other holding area. In this area, you can get an idea again of the scale. So all these are put into the jiffy pots that you can see on the background there, and then those are
placed on these tables. The tables are then used, these large metal tables are then used to move the orchids around from one space to the other. So you can get an idea from the table that's shown here how they move these things around. So there's various automated processes that the tables are moved around, and this is the first space where there are these plants, these deflast plants are in the greenhouse. And again, look at the size of this facility. It's just huge. In this space there is lighting, it's artificial lighting. What you can see, I hope, are the yellow tape on the sides of these greenhouses, and that's sticky tape for monitoring of any insects that are there. I should mention that they don't do very many, if any, insecticide applications. There's a lot of monitoring. The sticky tape, they're big pieces of sticky tape, and any insects that are there are going to stick to it. So they're very conscientious about application of these pesticides on their plants, and there's a lot of manual involvement in growth of these plants. But anyway, these are the small deflast orchids, and then we'll move on to a different greenhouse where you can see these have grown a little bit more here, and you can get an idea of how big they're growing. You can also see that the different varieties are different colors, so the red variety is going to probably produce a red or a darker colored flower. But again, you can get an idea of the scale of things and how rapidly these plants are going. The greenhouses are huge, they're immaculate, they're very well kept. These are some orchids that are the Phalaenopsis that are still in the jiffy pots that are about 7 to 8 months old. And again, look at the scale, look at how much growth that you have in these orchids. The root systems are starting to get pretty massive. As you walk down and look through some of this area, I was being told here to take a look at these pipes that are on the ground. And the pipes that are on the ground, there's actually CO2 goes in there. So they use CO2 enrichment in these houses. So it enhances photosynthesis, you get better growth. They're certainly fertilized and taken care of in other ways, and it's heated. For Phalaenopsis, they start out with a cooler temperature, then move it to the warmer temperature for better growth. But because Phalaenopsis orchids are cam plants, because the kind of photosynthesis that they do, they actually use CO2 enhancement that comes on late in the day, which is beneficial for these types of orchids, which was interesting because I don't know really any other orchid growers that use this, that use CO2 enrichment as a method of enhancing photosynthesis in these plants. But this was, as we walk down a little further to the edge of this large area, you can see that the benches aren't as full as they were, and that's because these individuals, they're pulling off these plants for subsequent handling. So these plants there's a lot of manual effort that's taken in to move these plants. You can see, look at the root system on this plant. Again, this is a plant, it's still in a jiffy pot type container. They transplanted from the small jiffy pot to the large. These plants are still in the small jiffy pot. They are miniature phals, and all these plants are again treated a little bit differently depending on where they are. After the plants mature a little bit more, you can see these plants are spiking. So some of them are still in pretty small pots, but look at, the main thing to look at is the uniformity and just the large amount of orchids that are so very uniform. All of them are spiking, they're all fairly similar staged, and that's what they look for, and that's what really helps in automation. This just shows a bench that they use to transport the orchids on these tables from one room to the other. This is a potting area, and this is the bark that they use for getting the orchids really mature, and it ends up they use bark. They don't use the jiffy pots at this point, and it's a bark, and it's similar to Orchiata, but it is a pine bark type. And again, this system is automated, and you can see here the pots dropping down into this conveyor belt, and it holds them, and then the next people in the line here are prepping the plants and placing them down so that then the automated system will then place these plants in the pots with the bark. And so you can't see it, it's behind the screen there. So these plants have been placed in pots through this automated automated potter, and then they go on a conveyor belt where then the blue light here is then reading the variety of plant that they have there, so they'll all be sorted. So this shows the plants that are being brought in on the conveyor belt. They go into these white pots that are carrier pots. And this is just really incredible. This shows the uniformity of flowering that they get on their plants. And it's because the plants are treated very uniformly, very well, beautiful conditions. And the plants just perform incredibly well under the conditions that have been tweaked and optimized for many, many years. So Green Circle Growers, again, is the largest producer of Phalaenopsis in the United States. Their plants are beautiful, the blooms are beautiful, and they do very well. One thing that I noticed here is that in spite of the large number of plants that are in this room, there is no fragrance. And so that's one thing that I miss from the Phals, is that even though the conditions are great, they're just starting to flower, there is no fragrance. Okay, so the next step in this process then is shown here, where the plants are taken from the greenhouse, again, from these trays, from these tables, and there goes a root, and then they're placed on these conveyor belts in these carriers, and then they're sorted. So they're staked first. So this person on the left is staking the plants, and then as we move, and you can see this is an assembly line process, and then as you go, you can see the next people, their responsibility is to actually hold the flowers to the stakes. So that's what these people in line are doing, is they're staking the flowers onto the stakes that are there. So this is it's a labor-intensive process, but they automated it as much as possible. And so this just shows, again, some of the process. After this, what happens is the orchids are graded. So they're put through this, and this is an image analysis system. And this is pretty fast. So the orchids are brought in here, they're turned around, images are collected, and you can see they're turned there, next one, watch it turn. And they're then analyzed on the machine, and based on the image analysis, those plants are then subsequently sorted again on the system. I should mention that you don't get this line. The lines as a result artifact of the video, but I'm going to show you this again in slow motion so you can see what's going on. So as the plants go through, they're turned, different images are collected, and it lets them do more extensive video analysis of those plants that lets them classify them. So these go through the line here, and then they're sorted very precisely based on how they look into the different areas. So this is the last person staking, and this was an interesting video because there was a tower, there was an area that I got to climb up on, and you could kind of see the scale of operation from here. So this shows the newly staked orchids that are going into the image analysis machine, and then they're moving through this area, which then they're sorted. So all of these rows of orchids here are sorted based on size. After they're sorted, they're then brought down in another assembly line to this space where they're then collected and put in these containers. And again, automation is the key here, and they can do this because of the uniformity of the orchids as they're growing them and as they're doing image analysis of them. So these things then move on after they're put in these flats. They're moved on, and you can see the flats moving around, and all of these orchids in these flats, again, are graded for uniformity. But you can get an idea of the scale of what they're doing and how they can automate the system when you deal with things at this level. The next thing that I want to show you is an area where they actually box up the orchids, and again, it's all automated. And I had to slow this down because this was really fast. So you can get an idea of how this works. So this machine shoves the orchids in the front of the box, the next machine seals it, and then these are orchids that are in the boxes that are then picked up by an additional robot and stacked on racks that are placed in trucks. And the trucks, I should also say, the temperature in the trucks are monitors as these go, because it's close to freezing outside, and these are orchids, so you have to be a little careful with how those orchids are handled. All right, so the automation again plays a key role in their orchids, but there are some parts of this operation that are not automated or not as completely automated. So these are some pots that are, these are ceramic pots, and these are heavier, and it's hard to automate these because of the types of pots. So they have terracotta, they have ceramic, and they have different types, and some of these things have to be manually handled. These guys were picking up these flats of orchids in these ceramic pots, and they look heavy, and they are heavy. So they're putting them in here, and they take them on these carts, and then they carry them out. So somebody, because of the weight that's involved here, they had to be a little bit more careful, and there was a little bit more labor involved with moving these things around. Okay, and then this shows again some of these, again from a different angle, these manual movement of these pots from one place to the other, and then they are essentially carried out to another location. And again, because these are the ceramic pots, they're not really suitable or as suitable for automation. All right, so again, this was just an incredible operation that I was so happy to be able to take a look at.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tour. I am now outside of the grounds of Green Circle Growers. Behind me, just so you can see, are some of the greenhouse space that they have here, but that was just an incredible tour of the automation that they use. I talked with the director of orchid growing operations, and he explained to me just in so much detail about what he was doing, and the precision of what they do at every different level was just remarkable. That was just an amazing visit. So I really am appreciative of Green Circle Growers for hosting me on my tour today. I hope you learned something. I know I did. It was just an amazing, incredible state-of-the-art facility in orchid production, Phalaenopsis. Just really remarkable. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, from a pretty cold day outside, it was nice inside. Orchids liked it, I liked it. But from a very cold day, I hope you enjoyed my video, and happy propagating.